The farmer rubbed his eyes and couldn't believe what he saw. There were strange white objects all over his farmland, as far as he could see. Everything had been fine just a few days ago. As he got closer, he saw that the white objects were hundreds of eggs. He had no idea what they were or where they came from. Worried that they might be dangerous, he decided to call the local wildlife experts to come and investigate. Not long after, he heard a strange but familiar noise. Hudson couldn't believe his eyes and immediately drove back home to wake up his wife, Bobby, and their two daughters, Molly and Gemma. They all rushed outside together and were shocked by what they saw. Bobby, with tears in her eyes, asked her husband if it was what she thought it was. The field had no corn. Instead, there were eggs scattered all over, almost ready to hatch. Hudson was about to destroy them all when his daughters stopped him. They begged him to spare the eggs, and his wife agreed. They had no idea what the eggs were, and touching them could be dangerous. Hudson didn't want to risk it, especially with his family around. To calm his girls, Hudson suggested something else that shocked them. He agreed not to harm the eggs, but still needed to keep his family safe. When the eggs finally hatched, Hudson burst into tears. What could have caused this strange event on their farm? Hudson lived on a farm with his wife, Bobby, and their daughters, Molly and Gemma. They grew vegetables like corn and herded sheep, enjoying a simple life where unusual events were rare. So when Hudson woke up one morning to something surprising, it caught him off guard. His morning routine was normal. Hudson woke early, let Bobby sleep in, made breakfast, and then headed out to feed the animals. But that day, the chickens seemed agitated, running around as if scared of something. One chicken was even missing from the coop, leaving Hudson puzzled and concerned. He found the missing chicken dead and quickly removed it. The cause of death was a mystery, adding to Hudson's confusion. As he tried to stay calm, a strange sound caught his attention. He couldn't locate its source, but it was close enough to be heard distinctly. The origin of the sound remained unknown, leaving Hudson unsettled. It almost sounded animal-like, but what kind of animal could it be? After feeding all of his animals, he went into the barn to get his tractor ready. He was about to drive away when he heard a loud scream. "Dad, stop! There is something on the ground there," Molly exclaimed. He jumped off immediately to see what his daughter was pointing at. He was surprised at what he saw, and his daughter looked very surprised too. He immediately felt bad that he hadn't been as thorough in checking around, but at least they found the source of the noise. Or was that it? A sick little kitten was on the ground in front of one of the tractor's wheels. Molly immediately offered to care for the animal, and Hudson agreed. He had never seen marks like that before on an animal. Before he could even wrap his head around what had happened, his other daughter, Gemma, came running outside the house. "Dad, you must look at the cornfield," she screamed. "Yes, Gemma, I was on my way now," Hudson said, and he noticed small white dots in the distance but didn't think much of it until he came closer. What in the world was this? Where did all this corn go? What were these things growing in his field instead? Molly and Bobby also came running toward the field, and their mouths fell open when they arrived. "Eggs," Bobby said, stunned. "How is this possible?" They did look like eggs in shape and form, but were they really eggs? He was about to answer her when he heard that strange, familiar sound again. This time, it felt much louder. He quickly scanned the surroundings to see where it could possibly be coming from. It looked like the eggs were almost ready to hatch, but Hudson wanted to get rid of them. So he got up on his tractor, but his drills intervened. They jumped in front of the tractor and refused to move. Hudson suggested something else to calm down his girls that completely shocked them. "Well, girls, the crops aren't salvageable anymore, but maybe we can still save the eggs," Hudson said. His suggestion seemed to have instantly worked. The girls' faces lit up, and they jumped in the air with joy. Hudson solidly wished they were actually pets and not pests. But first, they had to figure out how to keep all the eggs warm at once. The eggs were all over the field, and they needed to harvest them one by one. Where could they keep them all and keep them safe? There were about 20 eggs scattered around the field. Hudson was scared something would happen to the eggs if they moved them, so he was thinking of a different idea. Of course, he also still had to consider that the eggs may not contain friendly creatures. They must be handled with much care and caution. He suggested they put a large black tarp over the eggs. This way, they would stay dry if it started to rain, and the tarp would keep them warm under the sun. Yes, This does sound like a great idea. Not long after, their daughters returned with a large black tarp. Together, they stretched the tarp over the eggs and put rocks on the ends to secure it. The following morning, Hudson woke up to a weird noise, but it wasn't the same as yesterday. This time, it sounded more like giggles. Within a second, Hudson knew what it was, and he shot up. It was still very early, but the girls had already gone to the field. They couldn't wait to see if the eggs had hatched overnight. Their giggles filled the air, breaking the silence of an otherwise dull and peaceful morning. His thoughts turned out to be true. His girls had woken up before him and gone to the eggs. It was 4 in the morning. Molly and Gemma's smiles faded as they looked at their angry mom approaching. She was still a bit upset because this wasn't the right time for them to be out in the field. They didn't know if there were any dangerous animals at night, especially. Hudson could not be prouder of his girls, but this moment of happiness turned quickly after hearing a loud crack. They all turned around towards the sound. Were the eggs hatching? Were they finally going to find out what's in those eggs? They collectively held their breath, awaiting what would happen next. Then suddenly, they heard a loud crack. The girls jumped up in shock, thinking they had smashed one of the eggs, but it was something else. They had taken such good care of those eggs, so they all thought something would hatch from the egg. Gemma saw a big crack in one of the eggs. Molly was scared, thinking of stories where baby birds couldn't fly after hatching. Bobby tried to explain, but Molly was still scared. Bobby took Molly inside to care for the sick kitten, which helped distract her and stop her from feeling sad. It had been 2 days since they found the eggs. The tarp did a great job of keeping them safe from bad weather and animals. More eggs started cracking, and they could hatch at any moment. On the 4th day, Hudson checked the eggs and saw one was empty. He looked around but couldn't find the baby. They wondered if it was a bird or a reptile and where it went. Finally, 2 more eggs started moving, cracking slowly. A little animal came out, and they were shocked and amazed. Hudson was amazed by what he saw. He never expected baby peacocks to hatch from the eggs. When he was young, Hudson loved peacocks and even had one as his best friend. He admired their beautiful colors and graceful movements. Hudson wanted to keep all the baby peacocks, but Bobby disagreed. They didn't have enough space on their farm for 20 peacocks, so they decided to keep 2 and take the other 18 to a peacock sanctuary. Hudson knew this was the best choice. The peacocks thrive at the sanctuary, where they had plenty of space to roam and explore. The sanctuary provided them with everything they needed, including food, water, and medical care. Hudson and his family were happy knowing the peacocks were well cared for. What did you think of Hudson's act? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Also press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.